Hello guys, I am Sajjad from AI Sciences. Welcome. Today we are going to learn how to add graphical user interface in Google Colab very quickly. Graphical user interface, in short GUI, is quite useful when you want to build some app for non-technical users. So today in just a few minutes we are going to learn how can we add text fields, how can we add drop downs, how can we add such text fields that can act like drop down and text field both, right? We'll also learn how to add date input fields like this, just like calendar. And then we'll also learn how to add sliders and how to add number input fields and how to add text input field. And then we'll also learn how to add checkboxes, and then how to add this drop down boolean fields. And finally at the end we'll learn a cool thing I'm not going to tell you right now, so wait till end. So guys, if you are beginners in AI or artificial intelligence and data science, this is exactly the best platform for you. We make tutorials for people who are very beginners. If you're going to start your AI career, this is platform for you. We make courses, complete comprehensive courses on artificial intelligence based topics and data science based topics, where we try to teach beginners, specifically beginners, the algorithms and bits and stuff that is being used in modern AI. So looking forward to welcome you on our official channel, and you can find the links in the description. So what is AI? We are going to learn what is GUI, what is graphical user interface. Then we'll learn what is Colab, Google Colab, and then we'll finally add some GUI to Colab. So what is GUI? GUI is actually a graphical user interface that is basically used for those who are not very technical. So let's say you come across a query where you have to build an app. Let's say you have to build a specific price calculator, right? And you want to give it to someone who is not very technically sound in programming. So you cannot give them this sort of Python code and you're telling them, okay, go and run it. You can just add input somewhere and you're good to go. You cannot do that. So you have to provide non-technical people with some graphical user interface. You can tell them, okay, you have to add a value over here, or you have to select an item from this drop down and stuff like that, right? So this is what we call GUI, or graphical user interface. So it is a user interface basically. And then what is Colab? This is a Google Colab. If you're familiar with Jupyter Notebook, Google Colab is exactly sort of a Jupyter Notebook. The only difference is, for Google Colab you do not have to do any sort of installation. You just have to have a Google account, Gmail account, and you can use this Google Colab. No installation required, no nothing required. The only thing that is required for Google Colab is a good internet connection, right? So let's start with how can we implement graphical user interface to Google Colab. Here we go. So first of all, we want to create this form, right? And a form usually has some title. So how can we add title? So let's just put code over here. By the way, if you just double click over here, it hides the code, right? Just as you can see, you don't want to show your code to the non-technical people, just hide it. If you will double click on it again, it will show the code on half screen, and it will show the graphical user interface on the rest of screen. Awesome. So how can we add, starting from title, how can we add title? We will write this hash sign. Those who are familiar with Python well enough, they know that this is hash sign which is used for comments. But if we will add hash sign and at the rate of sign, this at sign together, it will add a title on the form, right? So as you can see that we have added hash sign, then at the rate of, and then we are saying, okay, it is a title. What is title? Title is a string fields. As you can see, it is showing string fields. So let's say I want to say new string fields. I want to, update the title. So I'm saying new string fields. As you can see, it has updated it to new string fields. Awesome. So that's how you can add the title. Now, next thing, you have to create some variables, right? So one variable is text, then drop down, then text and drop down. Let's discuss these variables one by one. By the way, you can name these variables whatever you want. These are just simple variables that Python use, right? And then you have to give some default value. You can also give an empty string over here as well, right? Let me just zoom it in. Awesome. So you can give some raw value or whatever you want. I've given values, and let's say I will say raw value. As you can see, the default value changes to raw value. Awesome. Then we'll say hashtag again, and then at the rate of, and then we will add param. What this param do? This param actually decides the nature of this graphical user interface option. So here I'm saying that the type of this text box will be string. So whatever I will add over here, let's say I'll add I am string. So it will be appended over here and it will be stored in text, right? So let's say if I run it, you can see that it is showing I am string. So these two options are being shown from these print statements, right? So right now we are just focusing this text variable. So text variable shows I am string. So let's add some number over here. Let's say 90, right? And run it. And it has run. Now you may be asking that 90 is an integer, why it is showing it in a string? Because 90 is being shown as a string over here, you can see. And just for a litmus test, as you know that we can add a string, we can append a string to string. So let's say 90 value. So if I'll be able to add a string to this string, it will be confirmed that this is a string, and you can also print its type as well. So let's see, here you can see that 90 value, right? Value is, we have hard coded over here, value, and 90 is coming from this field, right? Then drop down. So if you will provide a list, first of all, there will be a variable, right? And then there will be a default option. And then you have to provide a list in param. Hashtag at the rate of param as usual. If you will provide a list, it will automatically recognize that, okay, so it is a drop down. So I've provided three options: first option, second option, third option, and here you can see these three options are available. Previously, first option is selected. Now I'm going to select third option, and let's run it. And there should be, so it did not run, I guess. So unfortunately I lost my internet connection. That's why this cell was not running. So as I discussed in the beginning, internet connection is essential to run this, Google Colab. So here we go. We have selected option 3, actually third option, and it is printed over here as third option. Now let's see what this thing is. Again, its variable name is text and drop down, and its default value is second option, and we have provided a list, right? So it has decided that, okay, it is going to be a drop down, right? Another thing that in a dictionary format we are providing is allow input, and its value is true. What does it do is it allows us to select a value from drop down, right? And it also allows us to add some random value, right? So let's discuss its application. So if there is some option for which there are some frequent values, and you provide those frequent values in this drop down, so that user don't waste a lot of time in typing the value. User can just select the values. And there are some values that are not very frequent, and those non-frequent values are quite a lot. You allow user to type those sort of values, right? So let's say new value. and let's just run it. This third output should be new value, and here it says new value. So far we have learned how can we add text with a specific, with saying that it has to be a text. It cannot be integer or number or anything else. And excuse me. And then we have added a drop down, and then we have added a drop down come input value, right? So it is a hybrid sort of thing. Let's go forward and let's see how what else can we do. Now here is another thing. There is another data type called raw. By the way, initially we have just added a title, we have learned that. And then there is a new thing. We have added type raw. Previously there was a data type string, so only string can be here. Now data type is raw. We can add whatever we want, let's say integer, string, whatever we want. It will automatically decide what it is. So let's say we add a string. So I'll say string. Let me say I am string. Okay, so let me run it. And okay, so it is showing some sort of error. It says invalid syntax. Oh, so we if we are adding a string, we also have to add some we have to add quotation marks so that it indicates, okay, it's a string, right? And if I want to add let's say a number, let's say 230, I run it. Let's wait, and here it shows 230, right? Then there is a drop down, and in this drop down we are saying that one, which is integer, raw input, which is in quotation, so it is it is a string, and false, it is also a string, and then a string, and its type is raw. So here you can see that one raw input, then false, which is boolean, and then string, which is a string, right? So let's say, let me select one from here and let me run it. As you can see, it is displaying 230 and then 1. Whatever you change over here, it also reflects that change over here as well, right? So let's go on. So far we have learned how to add, string and drop downs, and then we have also learned how to add raw data type, which is a mixture of all the data types. That gives us flexibility to add almost all the data types. Then again we have added a title, data fields, and then data fields are different. Let's say there's a month, and then there's a day, and then there's a year. How can we add it? It is quite difficult, but no, we just have to tell it is its type is date, and then it allows us to select from here, from a beautiful graphical user interface. We can select the year from here, let's say year 2021, and then it's month February, and it's date 5. Here it is selected. Let's just run it, and it says 2021 Feb 5 date. Now if you want to display it in some, let's say, American format or European format, you can manipulate it easily. You have the text that is selected from graphical user interface, and the chance of error is now almost zero, because if some non-technical person, even non-technical person, selects date from here, I mean, it's quite difficult for the non-technical person to make an error with respect to if we allow them to add, to input, to type date over here like this, right? So we are done with date fields as well. Now how can we add sliders like this, right? Here you can see the changing value of this slider. It is -1 at the minimum, and it is +1 at the maximum, and it is 0 in the middle, right? So initially we have just created an input field, and its type is number, just like before. Previously we have done it for string. Now we are doing it for number. And then we have created a slider. Its type is slider, and we also have to give some more arguments, which is minimum number would be -1, maximum number would be 1, and step would be 0.1. Step describes that uh, how how much change should be made when we move this slider from one point to another. As you can see, that change is 0.1. Here we go, you can see that 0.2, 0.3. It is not taking, larger jumps from 0.1 nor the smaller jumps from 0.1. So this is one slider, and then there is another slider here. You can see that its minimum value, let's check it from here, its minimum value is 0, its maximum value is 100. So let's verify this. Here we go. So it says minimum 0, maximum 100, and step would be 1. So let's say if I say step should be 5, and here you can see it directly comes from 100 to 95, right? And then 90, then 85, then 70, and here we go, right? So step, I think we're done with step as well. So let's just run it, and it should display 10 minus 0.4, again 10, and then 0. It is taking a bit of time and running because we did not run this cell previously in this Google Colab environment, and it will run. Here we go. 10 minus 4, again 10. 10 is from here. You can also change this number from here as well and decrease the number as well. And let's say again run it. Here we go. So it shows 10 minus 0.4, 8, and 0, right? This slider value 25 was changed after we ran this cell. And then there are some checkboxes. So again, we have added a Boolean field, then a default value, and then we say it is a Boolean, right? So its type is Boolean. So by default, if we say its type is Boolean, so it makes a checkbox. If we say type is Boolean and we don't provide any list, then it by default it says okay, so it will be a checkbox. If we check it, its value would be true. If we uncheck it, its value would be false. And then there is another Boolean drop down. Previously it was a Boolean checkbox, now it is a Boolean drop down. So we have provided a list, and we say okay, so it's a raw, raw type of drop down. So it will act like a Boolean one because we have provided only two options over here. So let's uncheck it. So it is false, and this one is true. So its output should be false, then true. So let's run it and see. Here we go. So as you can see, false is above and true is below, because false is coming from Boolean checkbox variable and true is coming from Boolean drop down variable, right? Let's run it again, and let's now value for both variables should be true. Here we go. You can see that, right? So we have learned that how to add checkbox, how to convert a Boolean value into this drop down, whatever you feel like comfortable for your app. Now finally, the beautiful thing that I promised you to tell you is how can we, previously we have to run our cell every time we change our input. How can we automate this thing? How can we do something whenever we make a change, our cell should be automatically in a running condition. As you can see that I'm just changing it. Let's change from B to A, and you can see that it starts running, and here we go. It has displayed the updated result. So it must be a difficult thing. Rest of the things are same. We have added a title, and then there is a list that automatically describes, okay, it is going to be a drop down, right? And then we are just printing the option. So how can we automate this? How can we automate running of this cell? So it must be difficult, right? No, not at all. We just have to add this run auto thing to the title, and it's done. It's that easy. So let's add this thing in this Boolean fields, right? I've just copy and paste it over here. So it will be a dictionary with key run, and its value would be auto, right? and let's just run a cell one time. You have to run it one time, and then let me change it from here. I've changed it and it is running again, and you can see the updated value, right? So you can add it whatever wherever you want. Let's add it over here, and now let me run it once so that it compiles right successfully, and then let me add a value, let's say value, and here we go. You can see that it has run successfully. And let me add this. By the way, why it is showing value 2 times? Any idea? Because we have added value here as well, or like we have hard coded it over here. There is a typo. Now it's fine. It should be, yeah, it is showing value. Why? Because we are adding value over here as well, hard codedly. And another thing, you can just double click over here and it will hide the code. You can again double click over here, it will show the code. So guys, that's about it. And do support our channel and subscribe and hit the bell icon of our channel so that we can prepare more content, more interesting content for you guys. Thank you.